Hello everyone. Welcome back to the Ancient Wonders. Today we'll discuss about very beautiful city, the hidden world of Amsterdam. In the 1600s, close your eyes for a moment and imagine a city so powerful, so unimaginably wealthy, that kings across Europe borrowed money from its merchants and ships flying its flag were found on every ocean on Earth. Now imagine that this city wasn't London, wasn't Paris, wasn't Rome. It was a small, waterlogged settlement built on wooden piles hammered into a swamp at the mouth of a modest river in northern Europe. That city was Amsterdam. And for a breathtaking stretch of the 17th century, it was the undisputed center of the known world. What you're about to experience is that world rebuilt, restored, and brought back to life, not through old textbooks or dusty museum exhibits, but through the extraordinary power of artificial intelligence reconstructing the streets, the canals, the faces, and the fire. Of a civilization that once held the future of humanity in its hands. We begin our journey south of the city itself, along the gentle, silver waters of the Amstel River near the village of Ouderkerk in the year 1622. This is where Amsterdam's story truly starts, long before the grandeur, long before the wealth. Families stand at the water's edge in quiet conversation. Fishermen drag their nets through the morning current. Flat-bottomed boats drift downstream, carrying timber and grain toward a city still finding its footing. The Amstel was more than a river to these people. It was a living artery, the source of everything the city would eventually become. Centuries before this scene, engineers and ordinary farmers built a simple dam across this same river, and in doing so, accidentally created one of the greatest urban experiments in human history. They named it after the river and the dam, Amsterdam. The church spire you see rising in the distance marks Ouderkerk, a sacred landmark where the wealthiest merchants of the city eventually chose to be buried, as if even in death they wanted to remain close to the river that made them rich. Within a single generation, this tranquil scene would be swallowed by fortifications, warehouses, and the unstoppable momentum of a city growing faster than anyone had ever witnessed before. Moving toward the city's perimeter, we encounter the massive earthen walls and star-shaped bastions of the Haarlem Report, the Haarlem Gate, Amsterdam's first line of defense against a world that both admired and feared it. The Dutch were deep into the 80 Years' War against Spain, a brutal, grinding conflict that had already consumed generations and showed no signs of mercy. Amsterdam was a prize worth fighting for, and these walls were the physical embodiment of a city that refused to be taken. But look closer at the ramparts, And you notice something that reveals just how different the Dutch were from every other civilization of their era. Windmills lined the walls, not to grind grain, but to pump water. Amsterdam existed on land that had no business existing at all, sitting below sea level, perpetually at war not only with Spain, but with the sea itself. The Dutch didn't just survive this impossibility, they mastered it, and in doing so, coined a phrase that has echoed through centuries of engineering history. God made the world, but the Dutch made the Netherlands. By the mid-1600s, Amsterdam had outgrown these walls twice over. Expanding in breathtaking concentric rings of canals, the Harengracht, the Keizersgracht, the Prinsengracht, a geometric marvel of urban planning that you can still trace on a map of Amsterdam today. Stepping through that gate and into the harbor district, we find ourselves suddenly surrounded by a different kind of energy entirely. The raw, relentless energy of global commerce moving at a speed the ancient world simply could not have comprehended. The old harbor basin churned with flat-bottomed barges, fishing boats, and canal vessels loaded with fresh herring from the Zuiderzee, Baltic, timber stacked higher than the masts of the boats carrying it, and grain from the Dutch countryside moving in volumes that fed not just Amsterdam, but much of Northern Europe. Amsterdam's competitive genius was never about production. The city itself manufactured almost nothing. Its genius was logistics, organization, and an almost mathematical understanding of how to position itself at the center of every trade route that mattered. Goods arrived from the open sea, transferred to canal boats with extraordinary efficiency, and disappeared into the city's warehouses before competitors elsewhere had even finished negotiating their first transaction. And then there was the main harbor itself, and nothing in the entire 17th century world could have prepared a first-time visitor for this sight. A forest of masts stretched across the water in every direction, each ship representing wealth on a scale that would be difficult to calculate even today. Spices from the Moluccan Islands of Southeast Asia, silk hauled overland from China, dense Baltic amber, and Russian furs. Sugar from Brazilian plantations. Scandinavian pine for shipbuilding. Every luxury, every commodity, every resource the known world produced seemed to pass through this single harbor before finding its way to the rest of civilization. The guardhouse standing at the harbor's entrance was more than a military post, it was a declaration. This water belongs to Amsterdam. You will pay your fees, follow our rules, and operate by our terms, or you will not operate at all. The Dutch East India